going to learn how we can use division with fractions. We're going to look at two different ways to represent this, as well as a Frere model. So we'll begin with the Frere model. In this Frere model, we're going to define the word reciprocal. We're going to go through some examples and non-examples first, and then make our way back to the definition, because I think it'll make more sense that way. So if we look at some examples, we've got three here. We've got 1 over 2 becomes 2 over 1. When we take the reciprocal of 1 over 2, it becomes 2 over 1. 4 over 3, or 4/3, its reciprocal is going to be 3/4. And 6, the reciprocal of 6 is going to be 1 over 6. That last one might look a little bit different, but it works. While you're writing this down, think about what is the pattern here? Why is this happening? What is the reciprocal actually doing? If we look at some non-examples, we have 4 over 6 becoming 2/3. That's not a reciprocal, that's just simplifying the fraction. And then we have 5 over 6 becoming 6 over 7. That's also not a reciprocal, we're just adding 1 to both the numerator and the denominator. If it doesn't follow the pattern from the examples, it's not going to be a reciprocal. It has nothing to do with reciprocals. So now if we look at the characteristics and facts, what we're really doing here, and the pattern you may have noticed, is that the numerator and the denominator are just flipping. They're changing positions. In that first example, we had 1 over 2. If we flip the numerator and the denominator, we now have 2 over 1. So that is its reciprocal. We can also do this to whole numbers. That's how 6 becomes 1 over 6. If you think of 6 as a fraction of 6 over 1, we just flip them, and we get 1 over 6. As for the official definition of reciprocal, it's a value that when multiplied by a fraction yields a value of 1. So what that means is when you take your original number and multiply it by the reciprocal, it should give you 1. The example we have here is 1 over 2 times its reciprocal, which was 2 over 1, will be 1. If we think about the multiplication of fractions, we have 1 times 2 over 2 times 1. 2 over 2 is just 1. So now that we've talked about the reciprocal, let's look at where we're actually going to use it. In this problem, Mr. Roberts has a board that's 3 feet long, and he's planning to cut that board into parts that are 3/4 of a foot long. So we're going to start off by writing down an equation. 3 divided by 3/4. Now, we're going to use something that we like to call either the Kcf method or my preferred method, the Kfc method. What this means is that we have keep, flip, and change. Keep means that we are going to keep this first number. So this is just going to stay a 3. If we want, we can make it a 3 over 1, just to make it a little bit easier for later on, but it's not too big of an issue. The F stands for flip. So we're going to take our second number and flip it. That's where we're actually using the reciprocal. We are finding the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. And the last part, the C, is change. We're going to change our division sign into a multiplication sign. From here, it's just the same as we've done. Multiplying fractions, you just multiply straight across. We're going to multiply 3 by 4 to get 12, and 1 by 3 to get 3. So this is going to be our solution. Now in this format, it's not super useful, so we're going to have to simplify it. 12 over 3 simplifies to 4. We have to make sure we include our units, which are, of course, 4 pieces of wood. We're just going to write pieces to make it easy. Now that we've gone through an example of how to divide fractions, why don't you try it? This one doesn't have a word problem associated with it. It's just straight up 1/4 divided by 3. See what you can do. Ready to go. Now that you've tried it on your own, a few things to remember. Remember that a reciprocal is a value that when multiplied by a fraction yields a value of 1. So for example, 3/4 times its reciprocal, which is 4/3, should give you 1. You're going to use the Kfc method to help you divide fractions. You keep the first number, flip the second number, and then change the operation from division and multiplication. Then you just multiply like normal. It's the same thing that we've learned. And don't forget to simplify your fractions. If you just leave them as an unsimplified mess, it's not necessarily going to help you understand what the answer is. So please, please, please make sure to simplify your fractions. I'm going to leave you with some suggested practice problems. There are 4 problems here to try. You don't have to do them, but it's a good thing to practice. We're going to be dividing a lot of things with fractions, and we're going to make things just a little bit more complicated very, very soon. So try these. Good luck.